Alright, it's time to get at the Kenmore, the motor for this Kenmore 59. This is a white-made machine. It's got this spring bracket on it that we can just pop off here to just get that out of the way while we work. And it'll make it a little easier to deal with the motor, so... Right. Let's see. I thought this bracket just came off, but I'm maybe I'm not correct with that. So the screw comes out, and that bracket is not any looser. So, all right, that screw must hold the motor armature or something in place, so we're gonna stick that right back in where it came from and leave that bracket in place. A lot of machines, you know, the bracket pops off, so it's always worth checking, but if the bracket won't pop off, then we'll leave it where it is. Alright. We'll open up our terminal block here, because we're gonna have to put the new lighting wires on it in a little bit. Okay, good. There's screw terminals in here, so this will all be easy. Just get these old wires out of there so that they're not making a crumbly mess everywhere. Which still doing, but you know. Just put these screws back in since they're here. And I'm not going to tear this motor completely down. I'm just going to pull these crusty old wicks out, and clean this a little bit. These old wicks have been in there long enough that these springs just sort of slid down around them. So, and really the oil and grease reservoir that they provided isn't super critical, but I will, thanks to the advent of modern lubricants, but we'll see about getting a new spring to put behind them, and I'm going to soak these in rubbing alcohol to get all the old grease out of them, and then we'll dry them out and put a bit of sewing machine oil on them And we'll clean these caps up. And then check the brushes. I was just going to say, be real careful you don't fire the brush caps out, but luckily I didn't lose the spring. However, there. That's how you're supposed to do that. This brush was gummed up and stuck in there and took a little tugging. This one fell out, so we'll take a Q-tip and I'll use rubbing alcohol and stick the Q-tip down both these brush holes to clean all that really thoroughly. And I'll wash these brushes off with rubbing alcohol to get all the oil and loose carbon off of them. And then we'll put that motor back together and put the wires for the light on it. The motor's cleaned up. I used rubbing alcohol and Q-tip swabs, cotton swabs, down both of the brush holes to clean them out. I also reached in the end to wipe the commutator with alcohol. These have been scrubbed with rubbing alcohol to get a lot of the old grease out of them. They're never going to get clean, but they're in good shape otherwise. Replacement springs. I found this spring in my stash, so I'm going to trim it to make 2 springs for these wicks, and we'll see what it feels like they're doing. So but first I'm going to stick my brushes back in the motor here. So remember, there's a curved part on the brush. You want the curve to match the curve of the commutator, because that curve is in the brush from wearing in on the commutator. And now that these brushes have been cleaned and all the goo and stuff is off of them, they both just slip right in here. And they slide easily, which is important, so that the spring can hold them tight against the commutator. These felts were greased, but I'm going to put a dab of oil down the barrel of these felt lubricators, because we have good sewing machine oil, and I feel like that is probably a better move than trying to get grease on them. Now, the question is this spring gonna work? Okay, spring is a little long. I still think this spring is a little long. Trim both of these off. The same. All right. Fill that cap with oil. Now, because these are upside down reservoirs, since they were designed for grease, they should be fine with a cup full of oil in there that'll go up on the wick, and then the new owner of this machine, or whoever's using it, will be able to just put a drop of oil on the motor shaft, and it will be more than adequate to work in there and keep this lubricated. And I trimmed both of these the same length, so I should be able to just install this other spring cap here. As you can see, I have set the machine on its face, and I'm going to pop the motor in place. And when I put the motor back in place, I threaded the new wire for the light underneath it here, and we're gonna get that installed. So one of my tool collections is wire strippers and cutters. I find them interesting, and I own a lot because I think some of them are very neat. But one of the benefits of having a half dozen wire strippers and other wire cutting devices around is that when you get to trying to work on something in a confined space like this, you have several options available to do the best job you can in the space you've got. So I don't remember which way around this cover was. I think this cover went this way. That makes the most sense. All right. There. Yeah, okay. And I'm doing this all in place with the motor on the back of the machine because that will allow this wiring to be the neatest. If I was trying to get this attached with the new wiring while the motor was loose from the back of the machine, I would be tempted to put extra wire on here to give myself room to have the motor flopped over to the side and off flat on the work table. But by doing this, I can keep that wire tail for the new wiring on the lamp tight and neat and clean here on the back of the machine.